And welcome to the Bruce Channel. I'm Bruce, and wow, what a week. Lots of stuff. Where to begin? Circus came to town. Clowns were accusing other clowns of performing, preening, pointing fingers, snapping angrily at others, trying to get their claws in. I'm not talking politics. The circus came to town, literally. Barnum and Bailey's Ringling Brothers' greatest show on earth came to the Greensboro Coliseum this week. And as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, for the final time, the clowns are going to go away, or they're going to hang up their grease paint anyway, or join other circuses. The pooper scoopers will have to hang up their scoops. The aerialists will leap into the nets for the last time. Yeah, all in May. That's when the last one will be. And Tigers and Lions, I wonder about them. If they had advanced word that this was coming, and if they could do the math, and they realized that they were going from revenue producing to just a cost, maybe they would look at their handlers and say, we may be going down, but not before we show you what we really think of the whips and chairs. 50 Shades. Anyway, Sarasota this week, which is where the circus is headquartered. The Wallendas, the Flying Wallendas, including famed rope walker Nick Wallenda, they tumbled during a rehearsal. They were rehearsing an 8-person pyramid, and they fell almost 30 feet. The good news is they are all expected to fully recover, but it hasn't always been so. It was 54 years ago, 1962, January, circus in Detroit, and the Wallendas again, a 7-person pyramid, collapsed. 4 of them fell, and 2 died. Now, the patriarch of the Flying Wallendas was Nick Wallenda's grandfather, Carl Wallenda, and he had lots of successes. But he was killed in 1978 when he fell from a tightrope that was stretched between 2 hotels in San Juan. Everything is relative. Ted Williams, the last Major League Baseball player to finish with a batting average over 400, which means he was failing 6 out of 10 times, and yet he's considered great. Success rate like that in aerialism, and that's not so good. If you're the sort of person who takes inspiration from familiar sayings like try again, that's fine. But if at first you don't succeed resonates within you, don't take up skydiving. So how's your weather? It's been quite the ride in a lot of places. Out west, the Pro-Am at Pebble Beach, Bing Crosby's former golf tournament, plagued by huge winds. The golfers were almost being blown over. And of course in New Orleans there were deaths from tornadoes, and Mississippi had some tornadoes, and then the storm churned eastward and northeastward, and New York, New England got buried, over 20 inches of snow in some places, and more is coming through the weekend. In New York City, at least 1 death was attributed to the storm. Completely bizarre. A doorman was shoveling snow off some stairs. He fell, and he didn't die from the fall, but he crashed through a plate glass window at the bottom and cut himself severely. Just goes to show, as I've said, gather ye rosebuds while ye may, because you do not know when ye may no longer. Here, southeast in Carolina, it should still be winter, and I suppose it is still winter. A week ago, we had lows around 20 for a couple of days, but by midweek, we were challenging record highs. Temperatures in the 70s. Seriously, the daffodils are coming up in some yards. My winter jasmine's still holding its own, but there are these little, I don't know what they are, little flowers that come up just before, and they continue into the early mowing season, and they're coming up. Midweek, though, then Thursday into Friday, we went down into the 20s again, but by the weekend, we're back up into the 70s. So is this all global warming? I don't know. I'm not a climatologist. I'm not a psychiatrist either. But psychiatrist or not, I think that both the weather and the blooming flora and the freezing flora, they're exhibiting clear signs of schizophrenia. All right, as a segue, they are related sort of, from things meteorologic to things celestial. No, not celeste, celestial, heavenly bodies. Anyway, Friday night, did you see it? It was a stand-up triple. A full moon. Full moon in February is known as the snow moon because typically in the northern hemisphere, It's the snowiest month. New Englanders are saying, yeah. Allow me to digress a moment. Think of our feathered friends. Put suet on your shopping list when you go to the grocery. All right, so Friday night. And for a little over 4 hours, part of the bright moon wasn't so bright. It was shaded by some of the Earth's shadow in what is known as a penumbral eclipse. And then just a few hours later, of course, this was, by this time, Saturday morning, but Comet 45P, also known as Comet Honda-Merkos-Parushkalova, or something like that, named after the discoverers, it came closest to its Earth. It came closest to Earth this trip, a scant 7.4 million miles away. Never a dull moment. Hey, let me tell you about my book, Shrink. Or wait, I can let others do it. Welcome back. Remember, you can watch all of our previous shows at our Facebook page or at tinyurl.com/Bruce Channel, and you can write to us at the Bruce Channel at yahoo.com. All right, so the elephant in the room. Did you watch the big game? You know, last week I said it had the makings of a great game, but it could also end up perhaps a dog. And you know what? It was both of those. It was a dog. And the cat is here telling, what? Did you say dog? All right, so truth be told, of all 51 Super Bowls, only about 10 have been really good. So when Atlanta took a 14-0 lead, the announcers were already telling us that in Super Bowl history, no team had ever come back from a deficit larger than 10. And the Patriots were one of the several teams that had done that. So 14-0, they'd have to do the unprecedented. But come on, then in the third quarter, it got to be 28-3. That's 14 points. That's 25 points. I was just about to change the channel, just about to pull the trigger, and I didn't. And I don't know why I didn't. It wasn't because of the commercials, because I was not watching in real time. I was watching in slight delay time so I could skip through the commercials. Well, Bill Belichick may or may not be the best coach of all time. There are other contenders. Vince Lombardi, Don Shula, Paul Brown. It's not a long list. Atlanta's head coach, Dan Quinn, is very good, but he's only at the very beginning of his head coaching career. Now, what Belichick can do is stay focused. He rarely gets angry. He may not like it, but he's focused on what's going on right now, because anything else is a waste of his time. It's counterproductive. So, what the Patriots were doing, even though it wasn't yet paying dividends, they were adjusting. They were adjusting the defense. They were adjusting the offense. Atlanta finished the half with 28 points. Patriots were adjusting. And the second half, at the end of the game, Atlanta finished with 28 points. That is, the second half, the Patriots pitched a shutout. Well, I wasn't there, but I imagine if I was halftime in the Atlanta locker room, you're up 28-3. If it were me, I'd be telling the guys, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're doing it. We're up 28-3. Keep doing what we're doing. 30 minutes from now, we'll be the Super Bowl champs. You couldn't fault that. Okay. Remember, I showed you last week what the Madden football folks predicted, that the Patriots had to come from behind in the last seconds. It was pretty close to that. But, for much of the game, it was a dog. Even late in the game, they were down 16 points. That means not only 2 touchdowns, but 2 two-point conversions. 2 of them. You make it once, great, you make it. A second time, great, but one of those, if you don't, you lose. So they did make them both. And then that led to another unprecedented, the first overtime in Super Bowl history. New England won the toss, went in for the touchdown, sudden death, game-ending touchdown. 5 Super Bowl victories for Tom Brady, more than any other quarterback. 5 Super Bowl victories for Bill Belichick, more than any other coach. As a team, the 49ers have 5, and as a team, the Pittsburgh Steelers have 6. But those teams assembled their Super Bowl victories over different times, different quarterbacks, different coaches. A bit more on Belichick. For the record, I don't like him. I don't hate him, but I haven't liked him since he lied to me and everybody else. In 1993, as coach of the Browns, he said the reason for releasing Bernie Kosar was diminished skills. Really? They had diminished so radically? All right, sit him behind former Heisman Trophy winner Vinny Testaverde. Oh, wait, he's more diminished than that? Okay, then sit him behind, here's a household name, Todd Wilcox. Bernie knows the offense, right? He's not good enough to be third string. The last pass he ever threw for the Browns was a touchdown. So they release him, and then they have to sign someone else to be third string who doesn't know the offense. That's completely illogical. I believe that to be a lie. But that was then. This week, in the post-mortem of the Super Bowl, I read a couple of things of interest that came up, things I hadn't known. According to the column, it was owner Art Modell's decision to release Bernie, and not Bill's. So that meant that he lied because he was told to lie. I don't know if that makes it any better or not. Anyway, but it's more than that. To nearly everyone outside the organization, he makes himself unlikable. You know, there was Spygate, where he, against the rules, had coaches taping opposing coaches' signal calling so that the next time they played, it could be analyzed and they gain an edge. Anything to gain an edge. The guy is maniacal in his pursuit of football. I also read something where someone said he may have Asperger's. That single focus, he doesn't like to look in the eye. And I read of an occasion years ago, he was still coach of the Browns. The column related that he was on his weekly radio show featuring callers coming in with questions. Not unusual. But it was December. And the caller said, "First, Coach, I'd like to wish you Merry Christmas to your family and every member of the Browns family." Cardinal rule in radio is avoid dead air. Almost 30 seconds of dead air follow. "Merry Christmas, Coach." He can talk football, but social skills, he finally came up with. Same to you. All right, so maybe he's a bit of a social misfit. Paul Brown was also a candidate for best coach of all time. He was also a martinet. But what Belichick does have, that few have done successfully, he's also the general manager. He's responsible for managing the salary cap, determining which players to draft, whom to trade. Now, Paul Brown was able to do that, but there was no salary cap, no free agency. Same thing for Vince Lombardi. Super Bowl winning coach Mike Holmgren left Green Bay for Seattle. They allowed him to be GM. Didn't work out. They were a winning team, but they did not win the Super Bowl under Holmgren. More recently, Chip Kelly went to Philadelphia, had some success, so they made him GM because he wanted to control the players. They promptly crashed and burned. So I don't care for Bill Belichick, but there is no denying his football savvy may be the best of all time. Oh, one more note about his success. The point was made by former coach Dave Wannstedt. If you think about it, Chuck Noll and his 4 Super Bowl wins, Don Shula had Super Bowl wins, 2 consecutively, including an undefeated season. You know, the great teams of Dallas in the 90s and the 49ers, they all had a stable of superstars. Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swann, Mean Joe Green, Franco Harris, Hall of Famers. Miami had Don Greasy, Nick Buoniconti, Paul Warfield, Larry Csonka, Hall of Famers. For the entire run of the Patriots' success with Bill Belichick, there's only one other constant, Tom Brady. And he will be in the Hall of Fame. Randy Moss was a really good player, but he failed again to get into the Hall of Fame, and he was only there for 3 years. After that, Gronkowski may become a superstar, but that's it. The rest are just almost journeymen, and they keep turning them up. Finding unheralded gems? Bill Belichick, non Paris. Oh, one more note. I also learned this. So owner Art Modell had Bill take the blame for cutting Bernie Kosar. Then the Modell team moves to Baltimore. Why did he move the team? Because despite having one of the largest stadiums in the entire NFL, a stadium that, by the way, consistently, week after week after week, season after season, sold out. And it's not only stadium money, because the TV money, the enormous money from TV, is evenly distributed in the NFL. So that even in a tiny market like Green Bay, they have enough money to compete. And despite that, Art Modell so mismanaged the Browns he had to move to avoid bankruptcy. So he moves to Baltimore, and once there, he fires Bill Belichick. Belichick never coached a Baltimore team. And then, if there was ever an argument about whether or not Art Modell is pond scum, he fires Bill Belichick. A few years later, Patriots owner Robert Kraft is thinking about hiring Bill Belichick, which of course he did. Pond scum Art Modell called Robert Kraft and recommended he not hire him. So, maybe it seems as though my Cleveland Browns are cursed. Maybe that's why. But I appeal to the football gods. It's the Baltimore team that went with Modell, Okay, some quick hitters starting with, I thought that it was really neat that the Super Bowl coin flip was handled by former President George H.W. Bush, Bush 41, just recently released from the Hopsicle. Yeah, Hopsicle, sometimes they call it that. And that's his hometown, Houston, where the game was played. So that was good to see. All right. Remember last year the Samsung Galaxy phones that were spontaneously catching fire, and Samsung promised to fix a replacement phone, or replacement batteries, and then the fixed phones also caught fire. And to get a replacement in the first place, you had to ship your Galaxy back to them, but UPS and USPS, they didn't want to take them. I mean, you can't blame them because they see it's going to Samsung, they know what it is, and all these packages are on trucks and trains and planes, and they might catch fire. Finally, they discontinued the model, they gave up. So this week, there's a storage area in a South Korean Samsung factory. It's where they sent those faulty phones and batteries. There was a fire there this past week. I'm not making this up. Did nobody see this coming? Faulty batteries, yeah. All right. We upload these Bruce channels, of course, on Sunday mornings. Today, Sunday, February 12th, is Lost Penny Day, so I'm not missing out. I've got mine. And of course, Tuesday, no excuses, Tuesday the 14th is Valentine's Day. We all know that. So I hope you get lots of kisses, and not just those from Pennsylvania. All right. By the way, has anyone heard of Galentine's Day? This is apparently the 13th, the day before. Girls without a steady squeeze go out with their friends and they celebrate. Seriously, this is a thing now. This is my first year hearing about it. Guys don't do that. Well, we go out and drink, we just don't call it anything. And certainly we wouldn't call it Guyantine. That sounds too much like guillotine, doesn't it? Guillotine. Anyway, there's a bit of incongruity. I mentioned earlier that the full moon in February is the snow moon because it's the snowiest month in the northern hemisphere. So I kid you not, Tuesday, Valentine's Day, is also Ferris Wheel Day. Really. Now you may wonder why is that, because northern hemisphere doubtless has fewer Ferris wheels operating than in the warmer months. Turns out, the first Ferris wheel was operated in 1893 at Chicago's World's Columbian Exposition, and the Ferris wheel, as you likely could guess, was invented by Mr. Ferris, by Mr. George Washington Gale Ferris, Jr., and he was born in 1859 on Valentine's Day. Yeah, February 14th. So that is it for this week. Whether you spend some of this upcoming week playing Kissy Face or riding in a Ferris wheel, or playing Kissy Face while riding a Ferris wheel, I hope your upcoming week is the best one you've ever had.